Hey everybody, let's wrap up Module 4 and then we'll get into Module 5. So Module 4 was on habits. We had a little article from Charles Duhigg. He wrote the Power of Habit. You see me glancing over here, I'm just looking at the Canvas page to remind myself of some things. So Duhigg's premise was that there was a neurological loop that kind of dictated our habits. It started with a cue, and which led to a routine or the habit, and then that was followed by some sort of reward. You all gave great examples. I remember I asked you to give me a couple examples of health habits that you are either looking to kind of ingrain in your life, or habits that were not healthy that you were looking to decrease or eliminate. And those are great. And since we were talking about health, of course, a lot of those had to do with either physical activity and or exercise, and we'll get into the difference of that in Module 6, I believe, or it had to do with some aspect of your diet. So thank you all for being very open about that. And what I wanted you to realize was his premise that if you had this habit that you wanted to change, this routine, you could change one of two things, or you could change them both. You either need to change the cue that preceded the habit, that brought about that habit, brought about that routine, or find an alternative route to get the reward, or a reward that could replace what you would be missing if it was a habit you were looking to eliminate. So for example, right, if you were, people gave examples of wanting to get out and exercise. So maybe the cue to get out and exercise was just involved your environment, right? If your environment had things that kept you at home and kept you sedentary, right? If you had a lot of video games, plugged into the TV, if that's how they do it anymore. That's how they did it last time I played video games. But if that was plugged in, ready to go, then that's a cue. It's sitting right there. Bam, you start playing that. Versus maybe you put the video games away, or the movies, or whatever is going to keep you sedentary, and you put your hiking shoes by the door, or you have exercise equipment within the home, right? You can have weights, or TheraBand, TheraTube, exercise balls, all types of stuff. You could have that just readily. Your yoga mat could be, rolled up next to the couch, right? And so it's, not a thought of, hey, am I gonna grab the Xbox, if that's a thing anymore, or grab the yoga mat and do some exercise, right? So you're setting up that cue and that environment, and that kind of ties back into what we talked about, how you establish these communities that you live in, these macro communities such as Coachella Valley, or micro community, your home. You can also change the reward, right? If the benefit of, maybe you want to kick coffee, but the benefit, I think that's the example he gave, right? If the benefit of the reward for getting coffee, maybe it's not drinking coffee itself. Maybe it's that when you get coffee, you go out and do it with your friends, and it's an opportunity to visit with your peers, with a group of friends, and you're drinking coffee to be part of the group, right? And it could be coffee, it could be alcohol, it could be, anything you want it to be. But if you need to replace that reward of kind of social time, right? Maybe you could take those folks, or a different group of folks, and go out and go for a hike if increasing your physical activity is something you're looking to do. Or maybe they are people, instead of meeting at Starbucks, let's meet at Fresh Juice Bar, because you want to start getting, more fruits and veggies. So again, your examples were great, spot on. Just wanted you to realize that if you have the habit you want to change, you don't necessarily have to focus on the routine or the habit. Focus on what is either coming immediately before that and maybe triggering the habit, or what is the reward? Why are you kind of drawn to that habit? All right, enough about Module 4. Let's dive into Module 5. Let me pull it up here. So again, those last two, the last module on habit, many of you brought up diet. So let's look at diet next. All right, we're going to be looking at another author, Michael Pollan. He's wrote a great book, if you want to read it. It's called In Defense of Food. Just to really summarize, his premise is that the reason we have these fad diets and we have these macronutrients, micronutrients becoming very much in vogue, and then they're out of vogue, and something else is, the thing everybody needs to be eating, and something else is, absolutely avoid this, is the reason those are constantly changing is because he says that the diet or the science of nutrition is maybe not at a level where we truly understand all of this and can be making such recommendations. So he's got a catchphrase, doesn't cover everything, but it's a starting point, and his catchphrase is essentially three rules: eat real food, not too much, mostly plants. And he's got some rules to kind of tie into those aspects of the catchphrase, or those kind of rules. He's got kind of sub rules for eating real food, and what constitutes real food. And of course, we all understand the next part, which is not too much, right? Not overeating. All things in moderation, they say. And then mostly plants. That's a fairly obvious one as well, as far as kind of what he means by that. Now, he's not saying eat only plants, right? So he's not just saying a vegetarian or a vegan diet, although that's covered in the book as well. Yeah, you're going to kind of give your thoughts on that. You're going to give your thoughts on a couple of rules that he has, and they're here. Do I want to, I'll let you look at the rules online here, and you can just go through them rather than go through each of them. So part one is just to tell me your opinion of the catchphrase and the three rules. Okay, you're not graded on whether you agree with the rules, or agree with him, agree with me, or agree with your peers. You're not graded on that. Just put some thought into it and give some honest thoughts. He's got another couple quotes from the book. So that's part one. Is you're going to tell me your thoughts on the catchphrase and the rules. Then you're going to look at two quotes from the book and answer the questions below. One covers, should we be eating for pleasure? Does pleasure tie into a healthy diet? And the second one, it's kind of goes back to that idea of certain diets identifying certain foods as the savior and certain foods as, what's the term he used? Evil, right? So that's just to kind of, I want to get your thoughts. You'll see the quote there and the question that follows. I want your thoughts on whether you are somebody that, or in your past or present, there's foods that you consider the savior. I must get these. They're perfect for my diet, and there are certain foods that are evil, kind of avoid these at all costs, that type of thing. And I give a little spiel about kind of my history with that. All right, so this one, I'm going to open this module real early Tuesday morning, probably sometime when I'm up with my daughter, so 3, 4 in the morning, and then I'll close it sometime Wednesday around midnight or shortly after. So yeah, posts have been great so far. Remember, I've been covering it a couple of times because I want you guys to get full credit, right? So you get 5 to 10 points for every post, right? So you could, if it's a short little post, you might only get 5 points. So your safest bet is to then, between posting and replying to your peers, putting out 4 of them, because obviously 5 times 4 is your maximum 20 points. Whereas if you just assume that you're going to get 10 points for each post, I hope you do, but if it's a short little post and I don't feel like you put much thought into it, I might only give you 5 points. And then you earned 10 points, or maybe you earned 15 points rather than the maximum 20. Most of you caught on to that, and so you're giving me 4 posts. What that does, right, it gets your thoughts out there, which is what we want, right? We're trying to build an online community, and it drives all the conversation forward. So there is a method to the madness. Like I said, you guys are doing great. I know this is kind of a cram session as far as taking this course from the 3 months roughly to 3 weeks. So keep up the good work, and yeah, happy posting.